Okay, so Stadium has a little bit of a Tracer problem, and I kind of want to talk about it. I love Tracer. She's in my top five most played characters. But I think, when you're trying to be a fair and objective content creator, you have to call it like it is. And that's something that I've always done on this channel is like, if I like something, I like something. If I dislike something, I dislike something. I don't really care what other people say and what their opinion is. That's fine. I respect it because, we're human beings. Being a human being means is that we're all subjective to our own opinions, and that's fine. You like chocolate ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream. He likes rainbow sherbet. It's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, what I want to talk about with Tracer is, well, there's a couple of problems. Number one, I have a bigger video coming on this where I'm basically trying to break down that the one shoe size fits all philosophy that Blizzard thinks that the current balance can work. That, hey, if we balance for 5v5 and then we slightly adjust things for Stadium and also, what is it called, 6v6, it's going to work out for all three modes. That's just not how it works. And to be honest with you, and with no offense to the people that are working on the game, that's incredibly lazy in my opinion, okay? I think number one, you have to balance for all these different modes individually because there's a lot of different things going on in each mode. 5v5 is subjective to its own gameplay centered around the super tank. 6v6 is centered around its own gameplay centered around the fact that there's, 6 players, so that there's different interactions going on. The gameplay flow will be a little bit different despite being still the quote-unquote same game. The same thing applies to Stadium. It's a 5v5 experience, but you have a lot more, well, to some degree, transformative experiences going on. And sometimes those transformative experiences can be a little bit silly. Now, on your screen right now is going to be a clip that I got, and this is Tracer with just a 5% weapon power increase in round 1 with, I believe, the aimbot power that after you blink, for like 2 seconds you get an auto aim to a target, and you can go so crazy with Tracer. It's genuinely insane, especially in the early game, right? And the thing is also because of Tracer, they were able to rework some of how some way the items work in this mode. The key standout to me personally that made me really upset because I play this other character as well. The item that got nerfed was Ironclad Exhaust Ports, and they made it so that this item cannot stack its overhealth. So on your screen now again is the item build page, and it's in the survival category, and then it gives Tracer 8 health. It gives other heroes 10, by the way. She gets a 5% cooldown reduction, which is insane, and for her specifically. And then when she uses an ability, you'll be gaining 25 overhealth for 3 seconds. Now, she actually got this nerfed. This was really, really damn good on a lot of other characters, but basically she got it nerfed in the way because obviously if Tracer had something like this and she could stack the overhealth, it would be ridiculous. So Tracer at the moment cannot stack that overhealth. But this actually hurts builds for a lot of other characters that were relying on Ironclad Exhaust Port. Number one character that was relying on it was actually Freya, because Freya's build, it needed 2 core items in order to work, and both of them were in survival. Number one is her character specific item called 𝐓𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐄𝐇, and this gives her overhealth when she goes up with updraft, and then she takes Ironclad Exhaust Ports in order to use this to survive. Freya is actually super easy to kill in this game mode because of the different things that happen, the auto aimbot abilities and things like that. She's really not that hard to deal with in this mode, right? So she kind of, like, whenever you're building Freya, even if you want to scale in different powers, whether it's weapon or ability, you are almost always going to need the Ironclad Exhaust Port and 𝐓𝐿𝐼𝐶𝐄𝐑 because she needs it to survive. Otherwise, without these 2 items, Freya just explodes, right? Especially by mid to late game, if you're playing against hit scans and some other characters that can close the distance on you, they just easily one-tap you, one-combo you, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. So Freya needs these, right? And now, with how nerfed, it's not like, yeah, it is kind of heavily nerfed. Ironclad Exhaust Ports had gotten. Freya's builds are an absolute mess, right? Another character that was using Ironclad Exhaust Ports was this character, Mercy. Mercy was actually relying on Ironclad Exhaust Ports in the survival based ability power builds, where she was, relying on her Guardian Angel to trigger the ability, items and things like that. But at the same time, she was relying on Ironclad Exhaust Ports to pair well with everything else in order to give her the overhealth she needs to survive. Without it, it's actually really hurt Mercy's core gameplay loop as well in the specific Stadium game mode. Another character, when you're playing against a lot of hit scans, is Pharah. And for Pharah as well, Ironclad Exhaust Ports becomes more important. Now, people are going to say, well, there's surely better things than Epic. And I'm like, yes, I'm not denying it, but there's always nuances to these things. And Ironclad Exhaust Port is a really good item to have just in general because you can invest the other money elsewhere, and you don't mind taking less stats even in the late game, just because the consistency of Ironclad Exhaust Ports is really nice, right? And like it hurts Pharah as well, because if you were like, let's say there's the hit scan like auto aiming onto you, you could use this ability, and this ability, and stack so much overhealth that you could actually survive a little bit and have a fighting chance. Now you only get that overhealth once, and you get bursted down, and it sucks, right? And you're forced to play like the more obnoxious Pharah builds that are not really fun, and that's kind of my problem, right? It's like it's so hard to balance all these different modes, because I can go on a tangent as well about the state of 6v6, and I kind of circle back around and I approach Blizzard from this philosophy, right? Where it's like, is this one shoe size fits all philosophy really going to work for the rest of the game? It's not always going to work for the rest of the game, right? Like Tracer is just currently the one that shaped up the items and the way they work differently, and it's already affecting like a handful of builds for some of these characters that needed it, right? Now, using that different philosophy that I'm talking about, the one shoe size fits all, they recently gave Genji the what is it called? The 10 seconds on deflect. Now, me personally, and like a couple of other Genji like stadium enjoyers, we were actually realizing that there's actually some potential in a deflect build through utilizing a deflector bot, pairing it with force under fire, building Genji as a bit of a tank, right? Pairing it with like by round, like by the fourth power, you kind of pair it with like whatever you want, right? Spirit of Soldier is kind of underrated as well, depending on circumstances, scenario. But basically, we were realizing that, oh, okay, there's a bit of a niche here where we can kind of take advantage of Deflector Bot. It was coming up really well against Orisa and Hitscan spam comps. And now we can't use that build because a lot of it relied on reducing the cooldown time. But Blizzard has done it so that, in base 5v5, Genji has a 10-second cooldown. And now this 10-second cooldown completely murdered this build that now it's so inconsistent that I can't even take advantage of it. So like these four powers now, this Force Under Fire, Deflector Bot, Spirit of Soldier, or these three powers or perks or whatever you want to call them, centered around like the deflect loop, they've become so pathetically niche that it's like, are you sure you want your gameplay loop to be powerful in this one niche circumstance for like 1.5 seconds maximum? Or would you actually just go for like a generic build and pray to God it works out, right? And not just that, but like even the shuriken damage build, ever since they nerfed the ammo down to 24 and everything, it's made the character feel even clunkier and not as strong as before. And this is why I'm saying this one shoe size fits all philosophy that Blizzard's trying to do with balance, that we can take 5v5, we can take its balance logic and apply it to every other mode, including Stadium, which is also a 5v5 mode. It's just not going to work. There's so many different knobs to turn and tweak in here that if characters are scaling differently, you can specifically like nerf them. They already did this for Tracer, right? Because Tracer doesn't really get max number value that the other characters do from some of the items in the game, especially I think mostly in survival, right? But the other characters, if an item gets their description changed and the way that it functions changes because of like a certain character abusing it, other characters are now going to suffer because, well, like a certain build might therefore die. My point is I need Overwatch to take its balance a little bit more seriously. Already the latest patch was a bit of a call for concern, and I'm hoping that it's just a misstep and that we'll be able to bounce back. But going forward, man, they've not balanced 6v6 even for the past like 5 seasons now. It's been almost, I think, if not 5 seasons where 6v6 has not been balanced, and people are like telling you that, oh, well, nobody plays 6v6. Well, nobody would play a 6v6 game mode if it doesn't get any love, if things don't get shaken up over there. Why are we taking such a lazy approach, right? And the Stadium team, massive shoutouts to Dylan and his team. They are doing the best they can with like some of the targeted like changes to items and things like that. But sometimes you just want to like outright core change a hero, maybe through a lot of different number changes in the base kit so that they synergize well with the items and abilities and powers in here. And again, that's basically my call for concern, is that the Tracer basically introduces us to this problem that, she kind of comes in. And by the way, like, Tracer can still abuse so many things. Like, man, Hard Light Accelerator on Tracer is hilariously broken because you pretty much have this procced permanently. You don't need Eye of the Spider and the Closer, right? You build into a Hard Light Accelerator and then you like build around it depending on the situation. But basically, Hard Light Accelerator says when you use an ability, gain 5% weapon power for 3 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. This is a lot more limited and controlled on a lot of other characters. But with Tracer, when you're building into like, sometimes a little bit of cooldown reduction, some of the powers give you a cooldown reduction, you're pretty much like getting stronger weapon power for free every few seconds. Look at that. Like, you can actually loop, even with this, with no cooldown reductions, you can constantly keep the weapon power increase. On the bottom right over there, you can see it's been proccing over and over again because Blink is just so perfectly timed up with it that if you know what you're doing on Tracer, you pretty much have like such a good power increase pretty much permanently. So the downsides of this power, like when you're taking it, that, oh, okay, like for example, if I take hard light accelerator on a character like Genji, I only get to use my dash so much. I only get to use my deflect so much, where I, maybe I won't be able to get the maximum weapon stacking power from it. But a character like Tracer is actually able to abuse it way much better than he can, right? Excuse the background noise. So with that being said, that's just my rant for today, everybody. I am enjoying Overwatch, but there's just some things that have been going on in the game that slowly have been piling up, where I'm like, man, if Blizzard isn't careful, this lucky hot streak that they've been on, they're going to get it like to blow up in their face, and everything's going to end up backfiring, and all this hard work to make Overwatch have like a really nice comeback story is going to go to waste, and I really don't want to see that. That's just my perspective, everybody. That's all I really have to talk about today. Shout out to the patrons over here, and if you've reached this far into the video, by the time this video is live, I should be live streaming on YouTube. So do come say hi. I would love to see you, and we have a Discord server finally up and running. See you in the live stream and the Discord, I guess. Bye.